Hey everyone, this is Ian Miller. Welcome back to another episode of Drummer Through Comics YouTube channel. It's been a while since I've spoken to you people. Much has happened. Um, First off, issue four of Conan Hunters on the way. We've just released issue three, so I'm very excited about that. And Batman Enigma, the fan comic issue three. For those of you who have been following, the story about that. That's out as well. So I'm very excited about that. I just came back from New York Comic Con and it was spectacular. But we have a very good special guest tonight. I'm very excited about this guy. He's a cool guy. He's the writer and creator of the series Exiles. Please welcome David Anaya. David,
Hey, what's up, everyone? How's everything going?
thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me, dude.
Of course, of course. Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. David Anaya. I'm a school teacher, high school history, in the Bronx. Salvadorian. I was born here, but my family's from El Salvador. Writer. I write everything from poetry, screenplays. I wrote a couple plays,
Mm,
and then obviously I write comic books.
yeah,
And just so all around just writer and creator.
that's fantastic. What made you want to write a comic?
Well, I've always wanted to direct. My high school English teacher put me onto Alfred Hitchcock, and I was just hooked. I was just hooked on the storytelling, the suspense, and really just wanting to convey a message. But it's really hard to direct, mostly because you have so many moving pieces. Sometimes you'll cast an entire crew, and then on day of, someone doesn't show up, and so that's really tough. And I found that time consuming. I found it really annoying to deal with that, so I decided, let's just work with one artist at a time and get a story out there. At the end of the day, I just want my skill as a story writer to be on display.
Oh, that's fantastic. Tell us about Exiles. What's it about?
All right, so it's an acronym. So exiles, it stands for Elite Xeno Intelligence League Enforcing Satellites.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little long, but it all makes a bunch of sense. It's essentially my elevator pitch is 007 meets Game of Thrones in space. Yeah, so there we have Quincy. Quincy Ramos is in the middle. You see that classic sort of James Bond, 007 style. And then you have just the Game of Thrones aspect where like there's storylines moving on the other side of the continents. In this for us, we're thinking the other side of the galaxy, but they're all connecting, right? Like the daughter moved over here and she becomes the woman of many faces or no faces, I forget the name.
Mhm.
And then but she comes back to kill the Night King, so it's all stuff like that, all kind of connected in that way.
Oh wow, wow!
Yeah.
This looks spectacular.
Thank you, dude. And I've always just loved storytelling, sci-fi storytelling, because you can tell stories that are human, but take away the bias aspect of it, right? So I
Yeah,
can tell a story about race, or I can tell a story about sexuality or whatever, right? And disconnect it by having aliens. And therefore people will disconnect their bias to it and just kind of see the story, which I really enjoy.
wow, wow! It sounds spectacular. It sounds like a bit like my series code named Hunter, but that's another story.
Yeah, dude, I love your series too. I've been looking through it and it's dope.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh yeah.
So, what made you come up with the concept of Exiles?
Um, so it started off in a dream. I kind of sometimes have these really vivid dreams, and I'll wake up and I just gotta write. I'll just like, I call it word vomit. Sometimes I just write endlessly. I'm not putting punctuations. I'm not caring about anything.
Yeah,
And I had this dream about a older gentleman, like a mentor, kind of like 35 and so, with a 21-year-old. Because that kind of related to me. I was a 21-year-old. I had a mentor.
yeah,
They were just going on adventures, and little by little it turned into like Austin Powers in space and how cool that would be. And then I try to, it just developed into what it is now. So didn't start off in the dream as Exiles, but the sort of the buddy cop thing, and then I took that and ran with it.
But it sounds like a dark. It's a hardcore concept, folks. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, it's very political. I really try to get political with it. A big influence is like Star Wars, not so much because it's in space, but because Star Wars is very political, especially the prequels.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have like sword fighting, and then who doesn't like sword fighting, right? So
Yeah, I can already see the Star Wars elements in here very much, and yeah, what I love about the comics like this is that they talk about our world today, you
yeah,
know, whereas in other comics they don't really talk about that. For me personally, I like to talk about stuff that hasn't happened yet. Like there's more positivity in the future.
hmm
That's what I do with Codename Hunter. I talk about the possibilities of where we could go as human beings as a society.
hmm
It's very interesting to see different points of view, especially in comics like yours, where you're like, okay, um, maybe we don't have to be part of the status quo. Maybe we could change things for the better.
yeah. And the interesting thing about my comic is that the Exiles are kind of based on so the Exiles are an elite team that work for an alliance,
Yeah,
right? The same way that like the CIA works for the United States,
yeah,
right? And similar to the CIA, they be doing some dirty things, some low key they sabotage entire governments and put puppets and you know how it goes.
yeah,
And that's kind of the basis of Exile. So even though these are our protagonists, they're also kind of like bad folks in the same way that the CIA are protagonists, but they also do underhanded things. Yeah, so it kind of explores that concept, like what is blurred, like the lines are blurred on what is good and what is bad.
yeah. It's as if we live in a just a world full of gray.
Yeah,
It's not really black and white anymore. Stuff like that. No, no, no. It's definitely that. Obviously, those type of stories have been done before, but never on this type of visual scale.
sorry, it's a little loud out there.
So it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, I always like this phrase, standing on the shoulders of giants.
Mhm.
So I used to get into this idea of originality, and it's not to say that these stories aren't original, but the idea is that there's sort of only like five stories in all of mankind, right?
Yeah,
There's betrayal, there's like love, revenge, and stuff like that. And you can put those concepts into anything and color it in whatever way you want. Um, so it's not like any idea in this age is completely original, but yourself and the amalgamation of all the things that you like, that's an original thought. And then that's whatever you create is original, even though it's influenced.
yeah. I think what, especially for the comic book creators that are it's aspiring to haven't created anything yet. I think you should also draw from not just real life, but also draw from your life specifically.
Yeah.
Your personal experiences, because I think that's what makes the story and the comics more engaging. If you there's a little bit of you in there, not just in the writing and the art, but just you know, just to show, okay, these characters are someone like me. They're
Yeah.
someone like,
Yeah, I agree with you completely. They say write what you know.
yeah, exactly.
Right. And I can't write things that I haven't experienced because it's not gonna seem authentic.
Yeah,
So a lot of the times what I'll do, and I look at it like a gift and a curse, but sometimes I'm walking, enjoying my life with friends, and something will happen.
yeah,
And I have to write that down. Like that's a story right there. And I'll have to go, hold on guys, and I'm like on my phone, I'm writing this off. But that's where the best stories come from your real life. So I completely agree with you.
yeah. So it's always important to really be true to yourself, and also be because you can also help be true to your audience.
Yeah, yeah. I think your audience feels that. More than anything, of course I want to sell books, don't get me wrong.
Of course, of
Of
course.
course. But I want to make something that I enjoy. And and at the end of the day, when I read through my books, I'm like, yo, I made this, like, you know, like I'm genuinely proud of it and I genuinely enjoy it. So if I can at least do that, then I'm
Yeah,
happy.
yeah. That's the thing. Do something you enjoy. Otherwise, what's the point?
Right, right. Because it's tough. I think sometimes we put these on the market and people think that, oh, these ideas came quickly, or for example, for you, you draw and you, oh, that concept, that angle, whatever, was just, came and, but it's not. It takes a lot of time and a lot of
Yeah,
draft.
a lot of trial and error and a lot of rewrites.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
thing.
I have some students of mine who, because I also I announced that I have the book and stuff just to show them because I go to I teach at an entrepreneurship school. So this is me being an entrepreneur. So I want to show them, I want to be an example.
Okay.
And the kids come up to me and they're like, I want to make a comic. How do I do it? And I love that because no one helped me out. So I just want to be able to help out. That's why I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm just like, yo, just vomit on the page, just word vomit, just get it all out there, develop your characters, and then continue to draft and rewrite, and you'll get there.
Yeah. It just really just takes one, sometimes a pencil, or just typing on the computer, just to come up with a concept and just start writing until something works. Pretty much, it's like throwing everything in the kitchen sink,
Yeah,
and just to see what sticks and what doesn't stick. So
right.
that's really the thing, folks. With especially with writing and stuff, throw everything into the sink, see what works.
Yeah, because you never know. Sometimes there's times I'll get a little hunch and I'm going and I'm like, let's see where this takes me, and it takes me to a place where I never thought I'd be, and then I have to go. Let me delete this entire scene that I thought was correct because this one is actually the one that fits.
Yeah,
It's beautiful. It's one of the best feelings ever when you're kind of stuck and you're like, "Ah, how do I make this work? You have to really problem solve it,
yeah,
and then you hit and you're like, yo, like it works, it connects.
exactly.
Yeah.
I have to ask, what was your take when you actually held a physical copy of something that you created?
So the first one, this is the first one I did. When I first got it, I'm not gonna hold you, bro. I shed a tear. Like, like for real, like I really shed a tear because I had worked hard on this. And like I told you, it was a journey from trying to direct short films
Yeah,
to trying to do an animated series to then doing a comic book. So it was really a journey, a creative journey. Um, and there are a lot of people that dream but then don't actually execute or put in the effort to execute. So I was just really proud of myself. Um, yeah, it was wonderful. I still feel really good about it. The second one still feels good because I'm not a one and done. There's that
yeah,
you
yeah,
it's
the
a,
expression, yeah,
do
yeah,
you know
the expression, yeah,
she's got this meme where she's like, "Oh, you thought I was a one hit wonder? Like I got the second one. Now what? And
yeah,
that's
yeah. Those are badass covers. Yeah,
yeah,
no, I completely understand what you're saying, especially holding the physical copy of a comic. And yeah, I may have shown it to myself, so don't worry about it. It's all right.
yeah. It's a tier of pride. You really accomplished something. At the end of the day, if I don't sell too many of these, at least I can show my child. Not that I have a child now, but
Yeah,
like, yo, your dad did something.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I can look. Hopefully, when I'm older myself, also, because I can look back and say to my kids, "Yeah, your dad did this,
yeah,
and he met some very incredible, talented people along the way."
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that I've noticed is a valuable skill in this endeavor. You have to open up your circle,
Yeah,
and you just have to meet new artists and new people within this realm because comic books it's not so niche, but it's you want to be around people that understand it and can reflect on it in the same way that you can.
exactly.
Yeah, like you.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you're on these. You've just published a second issue, and you're currently working on obviously several issues. And I know issue 5 is being illustrated by someone I know.
Yeah, who's that? Who's working on number 5?
Oh, it's Eric Hernandez.
Yeah,
Yeah, the creative Soul Racer, which is published by Triple Threat Comics, by the way. He's the artist for issue 5.
yeah. So interesting thing about him, me and him connected because he's Salvadorian as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we just connected off of that, like, that mutual. I find out someone's Salvadorian, it's like that's my brother suddenly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And Eric is such a cool guy. Yeah, he and I just clicked in SVA. We became very fast friends, and towards the end of our college careers, we're like, well, what if we just create something together?
hell yeah, and you guys created something beautiful. The details, not only in the art, the writing. You know what I'm saying? It's something to marvel at.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, we actually just create stuff that we're excited about, and also that we would read ourselves, just as fans. And that's what I'm seeing when I look at Exiles. I'm like, this is something that that I would read.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, it makes total sense that Eric would work with you. It makes total sense.
yeah, and I'm excited to work with him because I've always so these two issues have been drawn by one particular artist. His name is Sam Camejo. Just want to give him a shout out. Um, and he's great. Don't get me wrong, he's absolutely great. But I would just love to see like new takes on the art, and also the more artists you have working, the faster you can get the books out.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm excited because Eric is that brother is skilled.
Yeah, he's incredibly detail oriented. Every time I look at a page from him, especially just a double spread page, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. That was one of the deals, one of the parts of the deal that we had. Like he was like, "Yo, I need a spread. I need a spread page." And I was like, "The script doesn't have a spread page, brother. I'll make a spread page in there."
Yeah, he just wants to show off just how big the world is.
Love it.
Yeah, he might kill me for saying this. I'm sorry, Eric, if you're gonna kill me for this, but I feel bad for our inker Enrique Lopez. Great guy, great inker. But when he's inking Eric's pages, oh,
I'm sure.
I feel bad for him.
Um,
But it's all good. It's all fun sport. And uh, yeah, and Eric does a great job penciling, and of course, Enrique does a even better job inking Eric's pages as well as my pages. So
yeah, I mean, I would only assume that when you put so much details in there, you got to ink that really with the same amount of details. So it's painstaking for sure, but
yeah,
it shows. It comes out really well. It comes out really well. Sometimes you have to put effort, like like we said, into these beautiful things.
yeah. And certainly Enrique does that, especially for our books. So
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he comes up with. The things that he's been showing me lately, impressive. Really impressive.
yeah, yeah, Eric's the real deal. Eric is the real deal.
Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see that.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this: this is obviously going to be an ongoing series. It's not going to be like a mini series or anything like that. Do you see this going past maybe issue 25 or even further than that?
Yeah. So right now I have about 10 books written,
Hmm.
like solid 10 books. They're laid out. And I'm continuing past that. I just want to continue, but the goal is these exiles. I'm looking at it almost like the X-Men series,
Oh,
right? So this is the group. This is the group comic, right? It's all about the exiles, but I put in a lot of effort into making each single character unique enough and strong enough to stand within this, like in their own comic book. So I'm definitely looking forward to like a Quincy Ramos series,
yeah,
right? I'm looking forward to a Sheba series. Sheba's this super badass swordsman. She's like one of the greatest warriors in the galaxy. I'm looking forward to that series and just kind of expanding in that way. But that's down the line. I think I want to build the Exiles. I want to build the Exiles lore and have people clamoring for more. Like, how did Quincy, how's he this one human in space? Like, what's his story? How did he get there? Things like that.
I get it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tease those things in Exiles to where you want a little bit more, and then, well, if you want to know more, about Quincy Ramos, what's his family life, how did he become, and you gotta get the next book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. You got to make sure that the audience actually buys the next issue.
Yeah, leave him wanting a little more.
Exactly. Especially with cliffhangers help very much in these books.
Yeah, yeah. I'm big on cliffhangers.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah, building your own universe definitely have characters that are big enough to have their own standalone titles. That's actually very interesting because you know you would probably just create sort of the blueprint of what the standalones are, and probably have someone else, maybe write a couple of stories, add more of the background details of these characters.
Yeah. That would be awesome. Interestingly enough, though, I want to just write it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's my little baby, and I want to keep it um tight because I kind of understand that it's a story that can get out of hand, and I don't want to write myself into a corner.
No, no, no.
You know, and that's why I'm working on issues so far ahead. And sometimes I'm working on issue 9, and I'll go like, whoa, I gotta mention something in issue 4.
Yeah.
And if you don't work ahead like that, then you can jam yourself up.
Uh,
But it would be beautiful if I could meet someone who like I felt I could trust with the story and be like, yeah, I actually think you have a great twist on it. Let's see how it goes.
yeah. That's the another thing. Yeah, you definitely got to trust people in the industry. But that's another thing.
Yeah, that I try to trust the artists I work with a lot. Sometimes some artists ask me for very specific details.
Mhm.
I give details, but I go, let me see what you got to also. Like, we're collabing here. Let me see, you put your own color on it. Let's see what it looks like. And most of the time when I do that, it turns out well.
Well, it's true, yeah, because at some point, the script is pretty much a blueprint. It's not the Bible.
Right.
It's not written in stone because things obviously could change. Saying, okay, and it also gives you an idea of thinking, well, I didn't think of this, but I'm glad this artist actually pointed this out to me
Yeah.
because maybe I could do it like this.
Yeah, that's definitely happened to me too.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of swallow your pride a little bit, right? Because you don't want to be like, no, this is how it's supposed to be, and like the art, it's
Yeah. You don't want to alienate. You want to be respectful, obviously, but it's really your baby. You don't want to make sure that your babies and it's not being messed with somebody else. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's a delicate balance. Like with some artists, they'll mention something. Like I always say, please give me your feedback,
yeah,
right? Sometimes they'll say, I really think this should be like that, and then I'll say, yeah, that works. Actually, you're right. Let's run with that. And then, but I'm also not afraid to be like, that has to be there. Like that is actually a very crucial part of the story. So even though it seems like very whatever to you, I know deep down that that's like a crucial part of the story. So it's non-negotiable.
no, of course not, because it. What if, God forbid, it actually leads also to the next issue, and suddenly somebody's like, "Well, let's change that." Like, and you're like, "No, no, no, this has to make sense because otherwise the whole story arc doesn't work.
Right.
Doesn't work, then the reason I'm like, well, what is this?"
Right. Right. And you have to be careful of it because when you certain arcs are so I think of I'm spacing on his name, but in you ever seen Avatar The Last Airbender?
Yes.
What's the firebender's son? I'm spacing on his name.
Oh God,
You know what I'm talking about, the dude with the scar.
I do, I do.
Right. His arc is so one of the best arcs ever. He starts off as this really horrible person, and then at the end, he becomes this person, this redeeming character.
The character's name is Zuko because
Dude,
apparently, yeah,
yeah.
some people are actually responding to the chats and they're like, Zuko, Zuko. Thanks, guys.
Cool, cool. I love that. Um, but if you mess up a part of that in the middle, it doesn't make sense that he redeems himself, right? It goes like, how did he turn from this super horrible person who was hunting the airbender to now helping the airbender?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And it's crucial, it's important. So it's the arcs are so valuable.
Yeah, especially with background story and all that. It's like well, so with ever read or seen Invincible?
Yeah, love that show.
Yeah,
My the dude I work with, Sam Cameo, he actually put me onto that show.
yeah. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because obviously you know the character Omni Man and what he does, especially to the superhero team and why he does it.
Hmm.
You're like, okay, what's his deal? Why is he doing this? And then when you find out the crucial part of why he's doing it, you're like, okay, he's following what his people are saying he should do. But then you're like, this is bad. And then you see it toward the end of the first season episode. You're like, why he doesn't, kill his son right away. You're like, oh, okay, now he's starting to it's starting to hit him, saying, okay, what am I doing here?
Right. Right. He's going beyond the programming and he's really thinking and having his own individual thoughts. That show is beast. That show is incredible.
Yeah, that's really. I'm waiting for season two, which is coming out in November. I was like, oh come on, bring it a
Yeah.
little bit closer.
That show actually inspired the gore level in this book.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I was like, let's get gory with it. Let's, if an arm is getting cut off, let's show that arm getting cut off. Let's have that blood coming off the sword or whatever.
obviously it worked out because the page we just saw, has the arm that not just the arm coming off, but
Right.
yeah, sometimes it does help, to show the gore a bit, just to really, sink into how dangerous this universe is.
Yeah.
Because it's not like your the comics from the 50s or the 60s. It's not like that at all. This
Right.
is hardcore, real deal stuff. So yeah, I mean, look at that, folks.
Yeah. Love that. Splee.
Yeah, I love the angle. You know, especially dicing. Yeah, both the arms. It's sick. It's very sick.
Yeah, that's all Sam. Like I definitely write it in the script like she's doing this, like she's jumping up and I write all of that.
Yeah,
There's certain things that I can't I'm not an artist. I'm not I don't draw, I'm not an illustrator. So there's certain things that he just adds that any illustrator adds that I'm just so grateful for. Like that looked amazing.
yeah. Well, because some people are very visual, especially when they're writing. Especially writer artists, they usually sketch things out while they're writing it.
Yeah.
But I think what you definitely to do talk to yours, especially when it comes to the script, you're like, well, what do you see in this issue? And you sort of describe it's like, okay, maybe yeah, is it kind of like this,
Hmm.
And you're like, yeah, that's it.
What's that like for you as an artist? Is that tough to kind of like get that instruction and kind of having to put it into the corner that the writer wants it to be in?
Well, sometimes it can be difficult, especially if I haven't written the script itself. I would actually just come up with ideas to say, okay, this is, is this along the same lines of what you're talking about? Because what I do is I would just show very roughs of, what the page is describing, show it to the writer, and see if they like it, if I'm on the right page. Or they'll just say, oh, this is good, but let's make sure that this panel, is a little bit bigger than that. Otherwise, you're good. Stuff.
Yeah. So I've gotten into this way of writing where I'm thinking about the artist
Yeah,
and I'm thinking about the art and I'm trying to reduce the panel numbers per page and stuff like that without sacrificing the story. And I've even sometimes really, really roughly sketched out what I think the panel or the page should look like. And just I would go, you don't have to stick to this, but this is just kind of like what I have in mind.
yeah.
and like let me know what you think. And most of the time they kind of stick with it and add their own twist, which is cool.
Hey, it always helps, the artist, if the writer has at least has an idea of what he or she wants the page to look like. So that helps the artists a lot.
Yeah, I try to give more information than needed sometimes. Like you get all that and then create the picture in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it also helps to reference, other things, like saying, if you're looking at a specific location, all that, saying, use photo reference for the cityscape for this particular one,
Yeah,
stuff like
definitely. I have this issue where so when I was growing up, I used to go to El Salvador every summer, and we lived on the hill,
that.
and that hill is just like ingrained in my head. And I have a picture of it, and I sent it to an artist. I was like, "Yo, this venue in the comic has to look like this hill,
Okay,
and give that sort of feel." Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Now, I always ask this with all my guests here. Do you see this potentially being an animated series or a movies series at some point down the line?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big believer of like dream big. You
Yeah,
know, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm gonna sell like, a couple copies and I'll have my fun and I'll just I'm thinking big. I'm thinking eventually Amazon's gonna come knocking on my door when once Invincible has run its course and they're like, yo, we need a new animated comic series on this app. What's up? You know,
oh yeah,
and I'm gonna be like George Lucas and just take it, buy me out.
but keep the merchandising,
Yeah, of
because that
course,
was the smart thing that he did.
of course.
And because they didn't think Star Wars is going to be money making, they were like, "Oh no, look how much Star Wars is making in the box office returns. What were we thinking?"
You know what I would also want to do is like, can I just stay on as an advisor?
Yeah,
Because the way the sequels have turned out for Star Wars, they're just kind of all over the place. And I would have loved to see what George Lucas would have came up with.
yeah. I
'Cause
think he did have story input at least on one of the sequels. I forget which one, but I did like some of his ideas that were used in that sequel. But I do agree with you. I think some of them are just not working as we hoped it would. I think they're just strayed away from what George was trying to do. But again, at some point, you're like, okay, we had to let someone else take over. It's like when you just coming off your run of your series, you're like, okay, let's let the other guy take over. Let's see what they got.
right.
Just don't. This is my this is actually my trying to think what I'm saying. This is my advice,
Hmm.
and of course, this goes for all of you who are writers, and you have your own characters. If you decide to end your run, but you want to complete this, continue the series, my advice to the next person who writes the series is this: don't script the characters.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up because that's one of the first things that I tell to my students who want to write comics or write any stories. I'm like, before you even start thinking about a plot, who are these characters? You
Yeah,
know, certain characters would never do something. And you have to know that within the writing so that when you reach that plot point, you're like, no, like Quincy would never do this.
yeah,
And if you start changing those characters around, your audience is going to realize, like, what? This guy's not acting like Quincy at all. Who is this?
exactly. So just stick to the core characters, who they are specifically, at the really table out, what they would do, what they wouldn't do. Don't add stuff.
Right,
It doesn't make sense.
right, right. Yeah, I agree.
Of course, I'm not also going to say, don't make it you can't make it your thing. You can, just don't mess with what the other person did before you.
Right. You can't jump on a Wolverine comic and suddenly, changes like suddenly he doesn't heal anymore.
Yeah, That makes no sense
You
whatsoever.
know what I mean? Like you're taking out a crucial part of the character. So yeah, I get you completely.
Yeah. Okay, so you definitely see this going as a possibly an Amazon animated series, maybe even a video game at some point.
Poof, a video game would be incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. There's this game out right now. Have you heard of Starfield?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hooked. I'm playing that all the time. Um, and I think part of what I like about it is I feel like I'm Quincy Ramos, like out there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in space. I'm going from galaxy to galaxy. I'm doing these missions and so on. So I could definitely see this as a video game. I could see it as an animated series. I could see it as a movie, um, a video game,
Yeah.
all of it.
Well, definitely continue to dream big and go big. And I say this to each and every one of you because, dreams are very precious to have, and you better hold on to them real tight because there are some people out there that will say to you, "Oh, it's great, but it's not good enough."
Hmm.
Don't let anyone tell you that because you get to decide if you're good enough or not.
Right, right. And if you listen to everyone that tells you you're not good enough, you'd never create something.
Exactly,
Yeah. And
and yeah, yeah,
most of the time, the people who tell you it's not good enough are scared to try.
yeah. There's another thing.
You know, so you guys are, for all creators, just continue to try, continue to put the effort. Like what, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I make these videos on my IG. I
Mhm.
know, like I'm not. Who knows? They're not perfect, but let's put it out there. Let's get the content out.
Yeah,
You know, and this is not a my best work yet because I'm gonna continue to get better, but I'm also not gonna sit on it forever and and be a perfectionist and be like, no, it's not ready. I don't know what people will think. Like, you got to put it out.
it's a leap of faith. That's really what it is, and also you have to let go of the fear that somebody's not going to like it. You know,
Right.
eventually people are not going to like what you try to put out. That's the honest truth. But
Mm.
for the people that who get the idea, when you reach out to them, especially if you have a problem message in the books, you're like, okay, I've helped somebody through my work. I've helped somebody. Then it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, we're entertainers in one sense or another. Someone is going to read this book and escape from whatever tough time they're having or whatever, and they escape and then they're going through the galaxy in these books, and that's why I do it.
Yeah. It's also why I do it as well because I like to entertain people, like you just pointed out, and also I want them to go on an adventure. I want them to be with the characters that I created. Just to escape reality just for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and we put in time on these characters. We think they're dope. Like, I think you would think it's dope too. Give it a try.
Exactly. Okay, you can actually buy issue 2 at the link that it's actually rolling across the screen right now, which is on Spotify. Very cool. And I will definitely promote, obviously, the series, when issues 3, 4, and 5 come out. I mean, look at that. You can store a map.
Yeah, I love this. This is like it's like a changing map. Every book is gonna have new planets that they're on. So you can always go back and be like, oh well, what's going on? This is where they're at. And I don't know if you can see, but it's broken up in sections of the galaxy.
Yeah, it's like to me, it's like the Star Trek map.
Yeah,
To see where the Federation is, the Klingons, and all that.
exactly. So
That's cool.
if
That's cool.
the exiles are in this part of the galaxy, it's about to turn up because they're not supposed to be in there. Yeah, and this is a spread. Eric would love this.
Oh, he would. He would so love it.
Yeah,
Uh, Eric, I really can't wait to see what issue 5 looks like.
yeah. The stuff he's doing with the Shiba character is amazing. Like he's adding details. He's making the metal look more metallic than ever. You know.
Yeah, that's another thing he does with his characters very well. Especially when they're wearing armor. He had such detail to the metal. I'm like, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. So it's interesting you brought up Right What You Know. Like I love wrestling, professional wrestling, like the WWE.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I was like, I need to put some wrestling in here. So they not to spoil anything, but they end up at a wrestling show.
yeah.
Not to watch the wrestling show, but to talk to someone who's gonna help them on a mission. But it's just dope.
Oh, it's nice. You know what it also does? It also gives an insight at the entertainment, in the future. So it's actually good that you add that in there because you're like, well, what do they do for entertainment?
Right. I'm constantly trying to create lore within it. Like I've created some galactic curse words. I created like religions and stuff within the books, whole cultures and stuff. Um, what else? Like language in terms of money, currency, just just lore to the entire galaxy, so that when you're in book 7, I'm gonna say something in book 7, you're like, oh, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
built. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it actually makes good because it also, you create your own language because when you have a couple of cosplayers in a Comic Con, speaking the language, you're like, okay, I know exactly what they're saying.
Right. I think of a goal, and when I was younger, it was always projected as something like very nerdy,
Yeah,
like people speaking Klingon.
yeah,
But as I grew up, I'm like, they developed an entire language that people speak and understand and speak to each other. It's dope. That's lore building to the max.
yeah. Cursing in Klingon is a sign of respect.
What in Klingon?
Cursing in Klingon.
Oh wow,
When they say, human, you curse like a Klingon.
it sounds like the person who developed Klingon was from New York.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. Well, David, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, dude. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. And you're definitely more than welcome to come back at any time, when you want to promote more of Exiles, especially the upcoming issues. I would be very excited to talk to you about that.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Anytime I have something, I'd love to come on. I have these 2 books out. Well, actually, this is the first book. It's not out right now, but we're gonna do a reissue soon. We might even have a new cover on that. I gotta talk to Sam about that. He was saying he might want to do that.
Okay.
This the second issue that is out right now through the Shopify link, and I also have these pins.
Oh,
I have these dope little pins. I never really spoke too much about the story of it, but there's elemental stones within the galaxy. Some are more powerful than others,
yeah.
and the purple stone is the strongest. Right? We call that the Coho stone. Oh, you're so dope for having that.
Yeah. Yeah, folks, this comes in different colors. And yeah.
Hell yeah, yeah. Shout out to my homegirl Jaslyn who makes these. She did the whole packaging and everything, really dope.
Wow.
Uh, so there's purple, red, orange, and yellow. So definitely can find those in the Shopify link as well.
Yeah.
Currently wearing one right now. Try to wear one every day.
All right. Represent, represent. I like it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it for us here at Truth Comics YouTube channel. I'm A. Miller. David, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate everyone who came on.
Of course. And folks, I will see you next time.
Peace.